And we're back at it again with another video. Today's video obviously is about the car accident that changed my life. And one thing I will say is those near-death experiences, I think a lot of people really glamorize it, like I saw the light. It doesn't have anything to do with that, but it makes you it confirms to you in your head, you are mortal and you have one life. And it really makes it easier to be like, dude, just absolutely go for it. But if you're here from the last video, we have to continue on the story. We'll get to the car accident, but there's a lot that happened prior to that car accident and things that changed my life completely. So let's get in today's video. First order of business, coffee talk, down the hatch, absolutely gorgeous out. And you guys notice, I'm dressed like a gentleman. And you're probably thinking, why aren't you tucked in? You can't tuck in this fit. You know what I mean? Can't tuck it in. Screw it, I'll tuck in. I feel like I look sleazy, honestly. No, that's too much sleaze. I could feel it, especially with the button down. You know, I'm trying to get a little bit of sun. Just, you have to bear with me. But the way I left off was basically touching my rock bottom moment. And by the way, for those of you that want to be kind of caught up to speed, go to the video. It'll be dated on June 14th, June 16th. Go back through those two and it'll kind of carry you through to today and how we got through to this. But if you don't care, you can just listen to this part. Completely fine by me. However, at this point, I've touched my rock bottom moment. You guys know that in my head, it was time to make a legitimate change. At this time, as you guys know, I went through that little unemployment period, but I never made the decision from weakness because in my head, I almost wanted to make everybody's opinion of me drop. Now, that sounds like in concept, it's very much a self-sabotage mission. But I did it because the voices in my head were just so loud from my family and the people in my life and my friends that I just couldn't quite hear my own. And so as a result, you touch rock bottom at that moment, but guess what you're left off with afterwards? There's something beautiful about touching rock bottom. However, when you're at rock bottom, and in terms of everyone, you've accomplished a mission. Everyone looks at you like a loser. No one's gonna believe in you. No one's gonna believe in you at this point. So it's tough because even my brothers were telling me, dude, I'm not gonna lie, like, you've been on this hiatus for a little bit, because it was about a 1.5 year period when I was kind of going through all of that part. And they were telling me, like, I noticed that you're dulling a little bit, you're not as sharp as you used to be, and that pissed me off. One thing about me is when you say something in my head, I'm like, no, I don't agree with you. Now, every day, I'm just gonna play back that tape over and over and over again. It's like that Michael Jordan that Michael Jordan meme where it's like, and I took that personally, like it is. I used to take everything so personal. And so I actually was kind of happy that happened because it was almost like the fire was lit at this point. When you touch rock bottom and you just hit this point of pure self-disgust, it always, for some reason, leads to that next decision being the best decision of your life. It's always so funny, but that thing is what starts the snowball effect in the positive direction versus the negative direction. And so when I went through this, I said, you wanna know something? I'm gonna get a job at corporate and I'm gonna work a good corporate job and we're just gonna start from scratch. I'm gonna be where my feet are at. I need to build some skills. I need to get back into the workforce, get those muscles operating. It's like anything else. If I don't lift for a while, even, from now, eventually your muscles start to atrophy and get smaller. Works the same way with stress and how you think of things and how you operate, in business or even in corporate, how to have proper conversation with people in a more formal setting, all of it. So at this point I start looking for jobs. I'm online every single day. I'm putting out probably 80 applications. And I get a few back and in my head I'm like, I wasn't being picky, but it's just more so like, let me just get as many yeses as possible and then I'll pick from the ones. Don't worry about, oh, I don't know about this job. I was just legitimately, if you guys are in this boat, I will apply to 100 jobs a day. Give yourself a minimal thing where it's like, I have to do 100 a day. You don't have to go that psychotic, but point is like, do a lot. And that way, at least you have options on the board, because that's what you have to build. There was this company that I saw, and it was a power tool accessory company. And I'm like, this is interesting. I don't know anything about power tools, like prior to this job, I should say. I don't know anything about, like woodwork and all of it. If you asked me to point to a circular saw blade for $1 billion prior to this job, I wouldn't have been able to do it. I would have fumbled the bag. I mean, that's how little I knew. Understand, I knew nothing. I see this company, I'm like, you wanna know something? I was trying to go for a different type of company, but I didn't get it. Long story short, I end up getting these interviews and I'm just applying for an entry-level position. And because I applied to 100 jobs a day, I just applied to every single one that offered. I ended up getting an interview for their senior sales position, okay? And I'm crushing these interviews. And in my head, keep in mind, I'm playing that tape where they're like, you've dulled, like you're not as sharp as you used to be, So like I'm still playing back my brother's voices where they're like talking shit. I'm like, oh, okay, we'll see, you know. So I'm getting job offers even for the senior sales job, but they wanted me to move to Texas. And then there was one that was more Midwest America. The Texas position that was for a job that would have paid me double my salary. So I actually wanted it. I'm like, dude, this would be sick, dude. Are you telling me I've been off the couch, you know, like, and I'm about to hit this? Let's go, you know? So the juices are going. I end up getting a job opportunity, and he tells me, he's like, this is what's needed. This is when I need you to come out. And I was already planning on it. I said, screw it. I think I'm going to do it. HR, and if any of you guys know anything about HR, it needs to be like one of the first things that gets absolved from every corporate company. That is something, let me tell you, in Crusadia, we ain't gonna have no HR divisions. I can tell you that much. That is not happening without a doubt. HR is the devil. It's the worst. He literally came in and was like, you can't do that because he hasn't been in this company for X period of time. And the management, the people that are actually working to make the company worth its value. And this is a $1 billion company, keep in mind. He tells me you can't have the job. So sorry. He gives me a call. He's like, I just want to let you know I had to block I had to block this job. So I said, screw it. I'll go entry level. So I end up staying in the Midwest too. So job starts. I'm put in this group chat, and it was extremely personal company. Like everyone just wanted to hang out with each other, which is awesome. This is the thing I actually loved about it. But they almost forced it. Some people like wouldn't want to hang out. You know, it's just corporate shit, you know, like I won't lie. Like it was the first time I actually went through corporate aside from Costco. And so it was formal. So I'm like, just follow the dotted line. So first week, I guess we all have to get together. They come to I'm not going to disclose where I'm from. They come to where I'm at, and we have to go into Home Depots for the first week. And we have to get up, we have to be in the lobby. I would have to drive from my house to the hotel they were staying at, along with 4 other new trainees and basically the manager that was walking us through the week. The dude was hilarious too. He's from Boston. He just talks shit all day long. The people there were legitimately awesome, man. I now that I'm looking back, but let's not touch nostalgia. You guys don't even know the damn story yet. First few weeks was us getting trained up, going into Home Depots. We'd have to go into every single Home Depot store like in the area. And that was considered part of your territory. If you're in sales, you kind of know how this works. And so my job was to set up a table every day at 7 a.m. You had to be there before 7, have it completely laid out. You had to take a picture and show your manager that you did this every day. And you'd have to sell. And guess what you'd have to do after you sell? Every time you sold something, you'd have to ask the person that's at Home Depot, and you guys know this, when people are at Home Depot, they're there to get in and out. They have jobs to get done, and they're just trying to stop in. I would have to take a picture of the damn receipt afterwards, because the way that they had it set up is they had this thing called above the line. And above the line basically meant if you weren't above the line, you were gonna get canned. Extremely intense. But if you're above the line, you're doing good. And then there's rankings even above it. So you see that you're in first place, second place, third place. And there's different stuff you could do. You could put up nice displays in Home Depot, and that gives you X amount of points. It was like a whole point system. But it was all based on taking Facebook photos inside this private group. I could not tell you how uncomfortable this is. This is coming from someone that won't even record inside a public gym. You're telling me you want me to bother, and it's because I don't want to bother people. Even though I'm off maybe doing my own thing, and they'd have to technically impede on my territory. You know what I mean? I don't think of it that way. I hate impeding on people's privacy. Let people get their shit done and let them move on. So to ask me to take receipt photos, I refused. I refused for the first, I think it was like the first month. I just didn't do it. I ended up getting a call from my manager. I knew it was coming. He's like, hey man, I just want to say like your performance has been a little bit under the 8 ball. And he goes, and it's only because you're not taking Facebook photos. I said, and I honestly was like, yeah man, I'll be honest with you. That's just something I struggle with doing. I don't like impeding on people's privacy. I think it's wrong. And so I called up the manager on a separate time. I said, listen man, if the Facebook photos is how you're going to judge me on how I'm doing my job, and I don't post the Facebook photos, then so be it. But I just want to let you know I am doing everything needed. I'm probably selling more than most people, but I just can't get people to, I don't want to take photos of them. You know, like I don't want to be taking photos of people. And the thing is, you could also get testimonials. So like if you get someone to give you a testimonial in terms of me recording you, imagine you bought something and I have to hit the record button and be like, hey, say good things about the company. The fuck? Like, it was so uncomfortable. So long story short, he basically told me if you don't do this, you're gonna get canned. And in my head, I started looking for other jobs at this point, but there was something in my head that was like, all you do is quit. Like, up until this point, you're just a quitter. And I snapped. There's something about it. I was literally by myself, and it's just like it was nagging at me. Like, stop being a quitter, bro. Like, this dragon, like, every time you meet some sort of discouragement, you fold like a folding chair. Every time, dude, you just fold. What's with you? Like, you can't handle this? Like, what's wrong with you? Objectively looking back, that's just a shitty situation I'm in. But you have to understand, up until this point, you've heard the whole story. This has been one of the dragons that has held so much control over me at this time. And I'm not gonna lie, it was 1 week left. I was at the bottom of the rankings every week. Imagine being last amongst 30 people, especially for someone like me. I'm a bit competitive in that way where it's just like, it's not even about, oh, he's ahead of me. It's like, I'm not a number 30 guy. I'm not joking. I had 1 week. And legitimately, it was 4 days. It wasn't even 5. And this is a work week, Monday to Friday. I went on a run that they had never seen before. I think I just blacked out that entire week. Just went completely obsessive, possessed mode. I was unconscious. I did so much work in those 4 days. In those 4 days that I ended up number 2 on the ranking board from being last all month, which is virtually impossible. What they saw, they lost it. They're like, I've actually never seen this in my entire life. I was like, yeah, this is what you asked for, and this is what I'll deliver. You expected me to do something. I told you, I vocalized how uncomfortable I was with it. You said, tough luck, essentially. I'll do what's needed on a dotted line. At that point, I was on everybody's radar. They almost were like looking at me like, oh, like, this dude's got something. I'm not joking. So keep in mind, this is the first month in. About a month and a half after, I get a call. Do you remember that job I got blocked from? They opened it up in my area, that senior sales. I get a call from the manager. He says, hey, Rami, I just want to let you know this territory has been closed for a couple of years, and we've been waiting for the right person to basically go and take over this territory. And it's a huge bump in responsibility, but it's also a huge bump in pay. It's our senior level, because the way it works is it was DAT, which is entry level, then it's MEP, which is basically intermediate, and then there's senior, which is, what do they call it? That's bad, I don't remember the promotion I got. What was it called? Pro. Then it's pro. Pro typically took years to get to, if you were good. Years to get to. He's offering me the pro position in my area that they're just going to open up for me. People that I've been basically begging for there to be a representative of Diablo in this area. He's opening up for me, huge territory. And he gave me that offer 2.5 months from me starting. At this point, I was so overwhelmed with, like, I'll never forget it in my life. Because when he offered it to me, it was like, oh my gosh, because originally the pro opportunity got blocked from me. And so it felt like someone took something away from me, but at the same time, I didn't earn it, and I don't think I would have liked just jumping right into that. It's funny how these things work. What you think you want in the moment is actually the best thing that ever happened to you. And so I go to basically interview, because he's like, listen, you still have to interview for it. We still have to go through it, but I'll put my best voice behind you. Even though you've only been there for 2.5 months, I know what you're about. And keep in mind, from the previous video when I talked to you about that patent I had, I'll never forget it. I was in Chicago, and they asked me and 2 other trainees that were all, we're going through territories together. They asked, give us 3 things that we don't know about you. What kind of stupid ass question is this? It's 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm in Home Depot. I'm having to take pictures of people's receipts. Just leave me leave me alone. That's what I was thinking. And the boys, if it wasn't for them being with me, I probably wouldn't have answered, honestly. Give us 3 things about you. I'm like, what am I just trying to flex? I hate flexing. You guys, like, okay, yeah, I flex my muscles. That's different, But my point is, like, I don't like flexing, like, yeah, this is the shit I've done in my life. I hate that. But now I know, even with social media, you kind of have to. I mean, that's part of the game, There's proof. You need to see proof, and I get that. So the point is, I'm like, all right, whatever. So I go through some stuff, and I'm like, and then I told the boys, like, I have a patent. Like, you think they'd be interested in that being a thing? They're like, dude, absolutely, you should put it in there. I'm like, had a patent and, flew out to California for a meeting with the CEO or whatever. It was because of that 100%, and I don't have confirmation, but 100%, because he used to ask me about it. Like, even the higher level managers, like, we're talking about people that, like, we're touching CEO, vice president, they got wind of it because they even brought it up to me. So obviously I know, like, oh, this was talked about. So because of that patent that I look back at, I'm like, what a stupid project. I really fell apart. I failed miserably. Was the reason why they were basically confident enough to be like, this guy, let's give him a spot. For sure, my performance, they saw the way I presented myself, I articulated myself properly. Being in phenomenal shape was huge for them. They're like, dude, like, what's your workout regimen? Like, it was all of it. That's when I tell you guys it amplifies your character. Being in a certain type of shape, it will open doors for you. If you're even coming in at 5 out of 10 everywhere else, it's gonna amplify it to 7 and 8. But if you're coming in at a 10 everywhere else and you're in a 10 type of shape, they're like, this guy is a superstar, you know? Think about how rare that is. Someone that has an ability to articulate himself, has awareness, knows when to shut up, knows when to speak up, knows when to kind of take the lead, knows when to become like, hey, I'll just follow in this situation. And then on top of you're in phenomenal shape, you have a good smile, you talk well, you're enjoyable to be around, your energy's great. It opens up these doors. It's such a cheat code. People really don't have an idea of how much of a cheat code this actually is in your life. Let me have a sip. I've been going on for a little bit. Okay, so because of all that, I started getting the interview. I knocked the interview out the park. I was at the airport and we kind of talked for a little bit. We had a phone interview and then we had a video interview. That's how they did it, by the way. I didn't tell you that in the beginning, but dude, it was like a 3-4 interview process. I'm like, what the hell? I'm just here to sell tools. Do you mind? Like, just tell me yes or no. You know, I feel like at this point, you know who I am. I didn't even care for this job when I got started, by the way. I was taking the interview just to warm myself up for the real jobs that I wanted. Fun fact, by the way. There's so much to this that I can't even explain on a visceral level, but I'm trying to give you just enough to just like, you know, hammer home the point. And it's crazy, the things that you think you're like, this is bullshit, I'll just hop on this interview for fun. That's actually why I did it. I might as well sharpen my interviewing skills. And that's when you realize when you play loose, dude, you play at your best, you know, but let's dig back on the topic. So I crushed the interview and he tells me basically like, we want to give you the job opportunity. I'm like, absolutely. Like, let me look over the contract. Let me see what we have. The HR, this bastard, tries to block it again. He says there's people that have been an MEP, because remember I told you DAT, MEP, Pro. And there's been people in MEP that obviously like you have to typically go through MEP to then go to Pro. I'm just jumping from entry level to Pro. Other people are going to get mad at this promotion, and that's not going to be good for, you know, our camaraderie, and we're going to lose trust with our people. He tries to actively block it. And I'll be honest with you, I put my foot down and I said, listen, if he's going to block this opportunity, I'm gone. That's when I realized you don't make a decision from weakness. Because at that point, if I just keep on just kind of, like in the beginning, they don't know who I am, settle back. But this is when you need to assert yourself. Hey, listen, I don't mean to be disrespectful. This is your company at the end of the day, but I want to be extremely clear with you. If this gets blocked yet again after you guys have seen what I'm capable of, and clearly this is what management wants, and if this guy has enough power to just basically overturn anything that he sees he doesn't want to have, then I'm gone. And I didn't say I'm gone. I said, then I'll have to part ways and really just, I'll have to think about looking at different job opportunities, because it's one of these things. Listen, you guys see me. I show up, I give everything I got. I make sure I show up with a great attitude. You guys know I'm capable, clearly. And the thing is, by the way, in this interview processes, I would even tell them, I just want to make it clear, I don't know anything. I am in dead last, is actually what I told this is, by the way, like the director of sales. I was like, I need you to understand, when it comes to everyone that's employed at Diablo, I am dead last when it comes to tool knowledge, by far. I said, you need to have that understanding. I'm not going to try to sit here and pretend I know more than I do. I don't. And they respect the hell out of that. So when I can say these things now, like they understood like, oh, he's a man of his word. He's not going to say anything that's untrue. And it's just because at this point, it's so funny. Like at this point up into my life, and I just realized it's like, dude, just be yourself, man. Just be yourself. And if that ain't good enough, it ain't good enough. Right? If your skills are behind the 8 ball, then you need to work to bring those up. If there's things that you're unhappy about with yourself, bring them up. You should be your own standard. You're your own boss. You have to sometimes father yourself through these situations. It's just how it works. But by that, other people look at them like, this is impressive, because no one's operating this way. Everyone needs to be told what to do. I never have been that guy. And so as a result of that, we basically had a conversation with the HR guy, and I even told him, I was just honest with him. And he said, basically, he's like, you know something, man? He's like, you know, let me discuss it with everyone and we'll give you a proper answer. The manager sent me a message before the HR guy, Dustball, before he even reached out to me. And I just told him, I was like, I need to be sure, and I'll never forget where I was. It was a Friday night, and I was smashing legs because I just couldn't get my mind off of it. Dude, if this gets blocked again, like, what the fuck? But in my head, it's like, listen, we're here to handle discouragement. This is what it's all about. I get the message, and he's like, you're going to have the contract on Monday. I swear to God, I would have sent it to you today, because he told me he was going to send it to me earlier on Friday, and I'm like, it got blocked, 100%. Started overthinking, you know? And he gives me this job opportunity. He sends me a message. He goes, I'm so sorry. I was on a flight all day, last second emergencies. Just wanted to make sure you're settled in before the weekend. I don't want to, have your brain be in like, in limbo. But you have the job and the contract will be in your inbox on Monday. And it was just like, and I'll never forget it, man. Like it almost felt like I could feel my life change forever, because this is the type of job and a type of company that allows you to have open doors wherever else you want. I knew I was never going to starve in my life, kind of deal. You know what I mean? There's certain moments that happen where it's like, oh, I'll never starve again. And I never starved before. I'm not here to pretend like it's like a, rags to riches story. Told you guys I grew up in a beautiful middle-class home, but middle class. It wasn't like anything where it's like, oh, like I want to go here, I want to go here. I would never was doing that. And I would even be embarrassed. Like, you just don't ask your parents for money kind of deal. I never did. Like, after I was like 14, I don't know, it made me feel uncomfortable. But I knew, I'm like, this has changed everything. Because once you have that one thing on the resume, and plus what I did with MSS, the scribing solutions company prior. This is all in the previous videos, by the way. I can't keep on doing it because this video would be 8 hours long. But I knew with those two, I would have it because I have startup experience. I have direct experience with like a legitimate company. And I knew, I'm like, oh, like things change at that point. And so Monday I get the contract, and then basically they tell me like a month later, like, you'll still have to do what you have to do for entry level, but contract goes into effect this date, and that's going to be that. I'm like, this is awesome. But every single year, they have this Home Depot show that they call their Super Bowl. And what you have to do at these shows is you have to build up the show. Like, you have to actually keep in mind with this job, you used to have to build things. It wasn't like I just sold. You'd have to build shit. So during the Super Bowl show, we'd have crazy designs with stuff, and we'd have to put together these massive displays. So I learned a lot about building stuff actually within the company. But I always told them, like, guys, I'm a bench player. That's what I tell them, like, I'm a bench player. Maybe 6-man, maybe we work up to 6-man, but all I'm saying is that's going to be a quick turnaround, So they always thought it was really funny because I was just super honest about it. But I end up getting told, like, hey, Rami, we want you to give a presentation to like the Home Depot people. Because the way it would happen is, like, those infomercials with the guy in the ear thing? He's like, and this guy right over here, what he's going to do, he's going to compare a Linux blade with a Diablo 1. Time to go, 3, 2, like that. And then you have to explain, like, we have our own carbide, and we make our carbide in-house, and it's actually all of it. You had to know so much. In my head, I'm like, oh, I'm screwed. They're going to all know, because keep in mind, it's not like every part of management knows. The CEO is going to be there, the vice president's going to be there, the directors of they're all going to be there. I'm like, oh, they're going to know I'm a poser. They're going to know, because I know they're not saying that I don't know that much about tools. I'm not going to go around telling people I don't know about anything. It comes a point, it's like, you have pride as a man. Like, you got certain lines. And keep in mind, like, this company is so close. That whole entire week, because this is out in Vegas, the whole entire week, we'd have to make displays that would be used for the Home Depot show. We would have to get up and get there at 7 a.m., like in the random parking lot of Home Depot, and we would be drilling till about 5 o'clock with a 30-minute break for lunch. That was it. And I was still working out every single morning beforehand. So I'd get up at 5 a.m., beautiful hotel, by the way. I'd get up at 5 a.m., I'd hit my lift, I'd go upstairs, I would come back down for breakfast, eat my post-workout meal, and then we'd head out the door. 7 a.m., we start drilling. Everyone has a different thing. And the thing is if you suck with tools, you're gonna have to learn extremely quickly. Thank God I had to learn from Dad when I was at the entry level, learning how to operate them. My goodness, if I didn't have that, it would have been a disaster. But I'll tell you what, that week I'm not joking, I think there was, how many bolts did we bolt in technically? It was like 10,000. I might even be underdoing it. It was zzz, 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 and then people putting up displays, and we had to put asphalt and, I don't know, basically a bunch of shit ton different materials, okay? Because it just depends. We have these things where we'll have a circular saw blade, like our 7.5 24-inch one, that's like, I think it was like $9.97, crazy deal. And it would just run through bolts, plywood, asphalt. It was, by the way, the Diablo tools are legitimately the best. But that's the reason why we're setting up. We have to set up for these displays so that way they can use them in the show. And then we had to set up the show in itself with the beautiful displays and everything. It was truthfully 2 weeks of hell. Hell, dude, but in the best way. You're with your boys. Everyone's like, this sucks, dude. This sucks. You're sweating your ass off. Zzz, zzz. Everyone's getting pissed off, 5 o'clock comes around, guess what we have to do afterwards? And this is something that we'd always have to do even for when I was in entry level. We'd have to go out to these corporate dinners. I'm like, I don't want to go to no corporate dinner, bro. I've been seeing you guys for the last 10 hours. Like, that's enough, But at the same time, even like all of us were in the same boat, so it made it actually fun. And so we have to sit there, and whenever management came, we knew we kind of had to be on our best behavior. And there's so many things, like they used to take us out for like axe throwing, and I was dusting people in axe throwing. They thought like I was doing this like for fun. They're like, Rami, have you done axe throwing before? I'm like, never in my life. Dusting fools. Pool, we're playing pool, dusting fools. That's one thing that they always said, like, dude, you're so good at every sport. It's just coordination. In my opinion, like when you play a lot of sports, and like ever incredible at any sport, but I was always very decent in all of these sports. I was always gonna be a problem. You know what I mean? You gotta be a weapon. Every single round that you decide to play in, you gotta be like, shit, man, he's playing on the other team. You gotta have that thing about you. I take pride in that. We're in Vegas, you know, we had fun, you know, like the guys would go out and whatever. And sometimes we even go out with management, you know, it was fun. I mean, I could tell you guys so many stories. And I'll probably do different stories about like these different nights, because some of these nights were, they were nuts, dude, they were nuts. But anyways, you go to the Home Depot show, and the CEO there and the vice president's there. And he's like, and I'm by the way, I'm not joking. I'm not gonna cap here. I would almost purposely put myself into situations and assert myself in situations that I didn't have to do the whole like give a presentation thing. It's not that I mind giving a presentation. What I would do is I would assume the role of the guy that was like demoing out the tool, because I thought that was way more fun. Like compare both tools, how fast one takes versus the other. That was extremely fun for me to do. But I didn't want to be the guy presenting the stuff, because I have to talk about this different stuff that I don't know, bro. Like I'm entering a world that's like, let me tell you something. You never enter a battle that you know you have no chance of winning. I have nothing to gain from this experience. You know, you have to be methodical. I'll never forget, we went out to this dinner, and it was before the last night. In my head, I'm like, I think I got over it. I think we're good because we have one night left. The VP comes over. The VP loved me. The VP comes over and goes, hey, I look forward to seeing you on the big stage tomorrow. It's like, oh shit. Of course he knows, you know, like as if I'm like, oh yeah, I'm making it happen. I'm like, he's got a lot on his mind. There's no way he knows, you know. But at the same time, I just got this promotion. I'm on their radar. They probably are looking at me, you know, a little bit differently than most people. They just want to see what I'm about. I end up going up on this thing, and I'm like, I'm gonna fuck this up. I'm not gonna lie, it was not good self-talk. I wasn't gonna pretend. I was like, you don't know nothing, just stick to what you know. Even if it's a lackluster presentation, just don't do anything retarded. That's actually what I told myself. Like, don't pretend. Don't be a poser. You don't know shit. You don't know nothing. You wouldn't be able to hit water out of a boat here, you understand? Just stick to the plan, keep it minimal. So when he said that, I basically was like, I have to study. I had to basically study, and I'm like, this sucks, you know? I was kind of looking forward to just kind of breezing on by. I do the presentation. I actually did pretty decent. Didn't overstep. Wasn't like anything like, what a great presentation. Nothing special whatsoever, but enough to where they're like, okay, you know, he can handle himself here. I'm not gonna lie, it was do or die for me. End up going back. Now I go to pro. That week we end up basically, I went out to Phoenix, and I'm really carrying the story on way too long. That's my bad. So after that, I'm in the pro position, and now it's like I'm traveling a ton, man. I'm traveling a ton. I had to go out for a week for training in Phoenix. Same idea, weekly dinners. They weren't nearly as cool because now those people are more elevated. The entry-level cats is always where you want to hang around with, dude. We're all just dogs. I miss them. I actually miss them to this day. But the senior level, you know, like what I appreciated was this is when the game started becoming higher skill. This job, by the way, just to make it clear, not just pro was so much more difficult, but because you'd have to go on the road randomly. And I met some people, I will tell you though, I met people in pro that to this day I think about. I'll never forget, there's a guy named Chris Connor, who to this day is absolutely my dude, man. And I actually, it's funny, it sounds, after this video, I'm gonna call him. He meant that much to me, and I'll never forget it, because I'm bringing him up for a specific reason, because he said something before I end up parting ways for my position. So I end up going through, I'm doing well in pro, I'm learning everything as I need to. Everyone's impressed, I'm getting phone calls. I got a phone call that basically from the director and said, hey, I just wanna let you know, the job you're doing is fantastic, and I also wanna let you know that we're gonna basically fast track you to an executive position. And at this point, I'm like, this is unbelievable, bro. I can't miss out here, I'm feeling so good. And I'm joking around when I say I can't miss. I'm just trying to kind of poke fun, but gives me a call, and basically is like, and even then there's another director who's like, I think you're actually like a special talent. Like, I don't think there's talent that comes around you like that very often. We all agree. Talked about this with the CEO and the president. And, even my director, Rob Nash, these guys, they basically gave me the confidence that I needed. It was hard to explain, but it was when I went into pro and started talking with them, as much as I was saying the dad dudes are just dogs, like it was just more like in genuine fun, but what made me into who I am was this pro period. And it was for a few months. about 4 or 5 months. Oh no, it was probably about six, something like that. I don't know, dude. I'm not gonna go through the timeline. This video is already dragging out pretty long. But I'll never forget it because they gave me the confidence that I was after my entire life. It was hard to explain. Everyone always told me I had talent growing up and you had skill and you have something special. But it was that job. It was after everyone that kind of gave up on me, you know, in that way, where they just kind of deemed me as a loser, but I purposely did it, right? Like this was a purposeful self-sabotage mission because I always felt that way about myself. So I needed everyone to see me the way I saw myself. And to this day, I don't think there's that many words to be able to explain how much they changed my life. And forever, I will hold Diablo close to my heart. And what they wanted from me, I delivered, but it was in a way where they were just like, they told me the things that I deep down knew about myself, but I needed it to be confirmed to be true. I actually needed that confirmation. I needed to win. I needed one win under just so many losses in a row to finally open up the floodgates, you know? Like I've been living in losses what felt like, not what felt like, what was like almost 10 years, man, you know, like just constantly losing and losing and losing. And it's just like, it gets inside your skin, man. And you just like, it affects your swag, you know? But at the same time, it was hard to explain when I hit rock bottom on everything. That's actually when my swagger came back. It's because I wasn't hiding anymore. And that's actually when I realized, I'm like, if you can develop that swagger with nothing, then when you have everything, it's only going to amplify it. And I think you need to arrive at who you are and the type of person you are without the stuff. That's why people jump into money too quick, they end up burning it. But to get into the accident story, so at this point, it's kind of clockwork. I know what's happening. I know that I'm basically set up for an executive position. I just have to keep on showing up and doing what I got to do. I'm back at the house, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go work out. I planned on actually taking my other car, which is a small Nissan Altima, versus this huge truck. This huge truck, by the way, I'm doing this that way I can cool down the microphone. But this huge truck, man. It was a Ford 3500. I think it was a 3500, dude. It was gigantic, but I had to put all my tools in the back and stuff. So that's always stuff I was doing. It was a pain in the ass. 12-hour days. I mean, I was going. I mean, it's a very intense job. It put hair on my chest, but also taught me how to work hard. But anyways, I'm like, oh, I'm going to go to the gym. And I was going to take my Nissan. I said, screw it, I'm going to take the truck. I feel like taking the truck. I go through, and I have a green light, and it's green. My light just turned green. I look both ways. I go up. And this car that's coming in at 60 miles an hour crushes me. His car goes up and flips. He rolled up onto my car. That could have very well come into me and I would be gone. If he just were even a little bit closer, that timing may have been just a little bit later. If I were driving just a little bit faster, which I'm accustomed to doing, I would have been dead. He rolled up right up on the car and just came up right over. His car flipped. I worried that the guy died. At this point, I'm kind of rattled a little bit because my head got smacked up. My left leg is in kind of pain, like a very sharp pain. And I hobble over to this guy and I'm like, are you okay? And at this point, I'm like, oh my gosh, like he died and like my car is like a part of it, you know? Even though like, listen, he ran a clear red, like I'm not here to explain myself, you know, but point is, you know, he ran the red, but it doesn't matter even if he was in the wrong. Like, you don't want to be any part of someone getting hurt, you know? I look over, they pull him out of the car, take him to the hospital. They're like, do you need to go to the hospital? I'm like, I'm fine, just make sure he's like alive and good. And it was after his car accident, basically I wasn't allowed to drive because I got a nasty concussion. Messed up my left leg, nothing torn, but just like banged up. I didn't get anything MRI done. I was just like, I don't even want to know, to be honest. But I had to get a head scan because I had to check to see, you know, what kind of damage there was for insurance purposes. And at that point, I had to work from home, and I was doing a great job from home. I was just calling people all day long, just telling them I got in a bad car accident. I sent a mass email, got a bad car accident. My apologies, I'm not allowed to drive. I have a concussion. You know, so you have to go to doctor's visits and kind of walk through that stuff. Doctor's office is the worst. But at that point, it's hard to explain, but I realized, I'm like, man, I probably should have died there. You know, like, and it wasn't like, oh my gosh, I should have died. But then you just realize, like, I was sitting there and I'm like, everything that has happened for me to Diablo, I can't be more thankful of. I have everything mapped out for me. Everything is clicking. For the first time in my life, everything is working. But when I sat there, I said to myself, I said, I have never been sharper. I've never been in better shape. I've never had more conviction and confidence in real stuff, not fake confidence, you know, like not posturing, real confidence that's earned. I've never worked harder. I've never had more energy. I'm at the top of my game. And you guys know this if you listen to the previous videos. I've always had that dog in me where it's like, I need to do something that's like genuinely special. And honestly, making an executive, you know, being fast tracked to being an executive is special in some regards, but I'm not here to play to other people's standards. I'm here to play to my mind, to my own, rather. I'm not playing under anybody else's standards besides my own. And that's when I realized in my head, even though this decision's not going to make sense on paper, it's time for you to put the dragon to rest and to create something of your own. It's time for you to take a step, even if it's the dumbest decision you've ever made. Is it smarter for you to stay here or try to start something on your own? It's smarter for me to stay here. But based on what the hell my standards are and what I expect out of my life and the actual grand vision I have for it, does me starting my own thing get me closer to that goal or take me further away? It gets me closer. Does me staying in this job get me closer to that goal or take me further away? It takes me further away. It does not drive me closer because I know how it looks. I know the salary that I would get and I know the type of life I would live, and it ain't good enough. It's not to say I'm not appreciative, because you heard me. I'll never forget what Diablo did for me as a man. And I mean that. That job changed everything for me. Because since then, I have been giving everything I got to every single day. Literally since the moment I started that job, that's when I learned what it was like to give everything you got to your day. You don't know it till you do it. It honestly put me on my heels. I won't even lie. But I'll never forget it. I really was thinking through this decision. And I told myself, I said, I'm going to put in my 2-week notice and I'm going to let them know that. And I wrote out a very long piece. And they said it was the kindest 2-week notice we've ever gotten. We're really sad to see you go. Is there anything we can do to keep you to stay? And I said, you guys have done more for me than you know. It's not anything you guys have done. This is just a long time coming for me. But you guys are going to be such a big part of the story. And I swear to God, no matter what I do in my life, I'll always shout out Diablo. Because I don't forget that. They were there. I know it sounds crazy. I know I did what I had to do. But they were there for me at my lowest, man. They were there for me at my lowest. And they believed in me. They believed in me, man. I mean, that's all anybody wants, you know, like, I believe in your ability, and I know it because it's not like I believe in you in like the way, you know, the way your family says it. I hate to say it that way, but they believe in you because they love you. They want you to win. But when a company that's $1 billion company looks at you and says, I believe in you, it's because they see it. They're professionals at their craft. And I had a conversation. I called every single one of the directors. I didn't have to do that. I wanted to. Just wanted it. And I reached out to every single message, everyone that I've met in the past. And I told them I should want to reach out and say thank you so much for the opportunity. I put in my 2-week notice. I don't know if you heard, but I just want to say I appreciate what you did for me. And I gave them all personalized things about what they did specifically for me. Every single one. And then I had a call with Chris Connors, the one I was not looking forward to most. It was like the one that I'm like, shit, dude, saying bye to Chris. I don't want to say bye to Chris Connors. That's why I'm bringing him up. He said, you know, Rami, he said, you, out of anyone I've ever met, makes me believe that there's more things that are, he basically says, you make me believe in myself, you know. That was pretty much, I'm not going to get into the details, extremely heartfelt message, but the long story short is just basically saying, like, you know, you're family to me, and what you've done for me in my life accidentally is make me better. You know, you made me better. So he's like, I'm sad to see you leave, but this was needed for you. And whatever you do next, I know you're going to absolutely murder it, bigger than anyone probably even expects. He goes, and I look forward to seeing that, but make sure you keep in touch. I said, absolutely, Chris. I'll stay in touch. And then that was very difficult. Reached out to my boss. I've gone out to lunch with my boss before, even after quitting, you know. And even Chris, same idea. These are guys I still want to stay in touch with, you know. Maybe even eventually they can be a part of what I'm doing in Crusadia, because I'm not just saying this, some of the best workers I've ever met in my life. Absolute killers. And they understand things, you know, like they're leaders. They really are leaders. And that's when I came up with this concept that wasn't mine. It was actually my cousin's. He brought up the concept of the business, and I said, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard, but also I think it can work, and I'm going to do it. And that's where I'm going to end the video, because I think I've yapped on long enough. We're going to continue this on in the next video. Yep, we're going to continue on in the next video, June 20th, and then June 22nd is going to be how I got here and how I built out Crusadia. So if you like this, watch the previous videos, watch the ones that are coming out on the 20th and the 22nd, and I'll see you on the next one. I'm looking forward to it. This is gonna get fun. I love you guys. Uncle Rami out. Peace.